Hey Mag fans, KVX here. As you know, I'm a massive fan of the shoe design, first seen in the movie Back to the Future 2 in 1989. So the Nike Mag was designed by Tinker Hatfield as a look into the possible direction that footwear might go in the future. What he did was design this incredibly high, futuristic high top that had a couple of unique features. Now in the movie, of course, those features were power lacing and lights. But I want to talk about some of the other things that people kind of overlook. Let's start at the base of the shoe, the sole. The mag has, if you can see it there, an outrigger, which is wide for wider than a standard sole. Considering the time that the year that he designed the shoe, it's only kind of now that certain shoe manufacturers are coming up with a similar concept. For years and years, the soles have just been straight, pretty much up and down, following the shape of the foot, or the shape of the shoe. The outriggers are wide, but they're not like super wide, and there are shoes out there with much wider soles these days. But what they do is provide, I think, greater stability as you walk. They do take a bit of getting used to for the first time you put them on, but once you're used to them, they are certainly very, very stable under your foot. The sole outer rubber, being made of a clear or translucent rubber, has certainly taken off. Many shoes from many brands now do this. It looks cool, and yeah, of course, it allows illumination to be installed into the shoe. Kids' shoes with little flashing lights is very popular, has been, and it probably always will be. These shoes have EL panel inside them, and a combination of some LEDs to light them up and look pretty flashy. So moving on to the thing, the midsole itself is nice and spongy. You will notice that more and more shoes have moved away from that harder outer rubber or extension where the outer sole was all molded to come up and be this part of the shoe. Now so many modern shoes now use a spongy midsole, which extends all the way around the foot, with only the outer sole parts actually making contact with the ground. The heel cup is one point that I find particularly interesting with this design. It's in most shoes, the reinforcement piece in a heel is just a cylinder of cardboard or plastic. In the Nike Mag, and you are starting to see this in other brands, it's a complex 3D shape that's been shaped on supporting the heel. So it actually, when you wear these shoes, your heel actually sits right back inside this shape here, and your foot just doesn't move. It's extremely comfortable and very, very stable, very supportive. The laces, this is interesting because, again, back in the 1980s, most shoes just had eyelets for the shoelaces, and there was nothing through this section here, apart from a bit of stitching and whatever. If they had seams. And what used to happen was you'd get a bulge where it was tight here around your foot at the top, and it was firm at the midsole, but then it was sort of soft in the middle here, and this would actually bulge out. So I think it was 1991, Puma released the disc system, which had a filament kind of like fishing line, which ran through the shoe, attaching at various points in the midsole, and then running across, and it all went back to this big wheel piece they mounted on the front with a ratchet that, as you turned it, it locked in position, but it pulled the laces in tight. What was interesting, it was very, very similar to the way Hatfield had designed the power lacing system for the Nike Mag for the movie Back to the Future 2. Even though these laces are only elastic in these shoes, the fact that they extend all the way to the midsole prevents that bulging happening on these shoes as well. The toe on these shoes, this design is what they call a clean toe, but what's also unique about it, in the movie shoe, it was a sock toe, which meant it didn't have a toe cap. And we're starting to see that happen on a lot of shoes, ranging from cheapy shoes that you buy at Kmart right through to quite expensive shoes from companies like Adidas and even Nike are doing it, where there is no toe cap. And that makes, I think, one of the most comfortable, practical things when you're wearing a shoe. When you do a lot of walking or running and your foot swells, there's nothing more uncomfortable than a rigid toe box pressing against your toenails. With a sock toe, that just doesn't happen. And it's interesting that he designed it that way back then, and we're only really starting to see it become mainstream now. The other thing that I love about these shoes is the minimal stitching. So you've got one seam in the back running from the cuff all the way to the base of the heel, and there's nothing right around until this inner seam. It's probably not practical to design a shoe like this out of leather, which is why they've used the materials they have, but I think the design is it's nice. There's the minimal stitching, the lack of visible stitching on the strap and on the shoe makes these shoes really, really cool. Probably the only thing that I would like to see changed in a design like this is probably a lower version, because you can't wear these with shorts. They are definitely long pants, jeans, etc., because of the fact that the shoe is 10 inches tall. But it was interesting that, from what started out as something for a science fiction based movie has created technology that kind of filtered down, not all of it, but some of it has filtered down to become mainstream, but yet it's taken this long to happen. I do find some of the design changes in footwear quite interesting, and then when you look right into it, you kind of think, well, wow, where have we seen this before? Well, this is where we've seen it before, right back from 1989. So there it is, the Nike Mag futuristic shoe for the movie Back to the Future 2 created many new technologies that found their way into many of the shoes that we wear today. Thanks for watching.